Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I apologize, it's been a couple of weeks since I posted a video. There's been a lot going on around here and not all of it good. Excitement, huh? Well, yeah, actually it has been exciting. I was in the emergency department just a few days ago, hooked up to all sorts of machines and holes all over my body. I've got a little bit of a heart issue that apparently decided to rear its ugly head over the last few weeks. So I've kind of been down and out for a little bit. So I want to get back into it today, but with something that's a little bit more relaxing that won't get my pulse up too much. So I figured we'd take a look at this. Now I picked this up a few months ago. I saw an ad on Facebook Marketplace. Lady said, I just have a bunch of old discs. If anybody wants them, come get them for 10 bucks. And I was scrolling through the pictures and I noticed some very familiar command instructions written on some of the discs. And I'm like, oh, those are Commodore discs. So I figured we'd take a look at these and see if any of them are any good and if there's anything good on them. Now, I'm not too concerned or excited about the stuff that's, prepackaged software like this Jeopardy disc. We've all seen that. What I am excited to find out about are some of these homemade discs because, back in the day, we had copy parties and people were copying software left and right. Totally illegal. I don't recommend it. But hey, that's what we did back then. But I'm curious to see what some of these discs are. I want to see if there's something exciting on there, maybe something I haven't seen before. So I figured we'd break out my Commodore 128 and have a look. Stay tuned. So there's actually a lot of stuff that's in this collection that I really don't care about, like Wheel of Fortune, stuff like that. I played that when I was younger. Project Stealth Fighter, I do remember this. A little side note, my dad was in the Air Force for over 20 years. And one of the projects he was on was the F-117 Stealth Fighter. And I had every game that came out that had to do with that. And he was always telling me how it was nothing like it, but I loved it anyway. But I mean, lots of stuff that's like kids' educational stuff that really doesn't thrill me a whole lot. Puzzle games, Garfield Print, Banner Catch, Zork, Raid on Bungling Bay, Fort Apocalypse. I do remember playing those, but what I'm really interested in is getting into some of these homemade discs. Let's see if there's anything interesting. Let's get this stuff out of the way. Although, I do remember Impossible Mission. I think that's the one that has the speech synthesis as part of it. Visitor, stay a while, stay forever. I remember that, and I remember that being really cool. Maybe we'll take a look at that one. So I'm going to pull that one aside. Rocket Ball arcade games, Frogger on side 2. Maybe we'll get lucky and there'll be more games than that on there. Space Taxi and Beachhead. That doesn't sound too interesting. Card Sharks, well, maybe. Zork, story where you tell computer where to go. So like a text adventure, maybe? Yeah. G.I. Joe. All right, the Real American Hero. Maybe we'll try that. River Raid. Wonder if there's anything else on that. We'll take a look at it. Indy. Now, Lucasfilm Games. Let's take a look at that. I know it's not a homemade disc, but I do want to see what's on that. Sky Fox, Castles of Dr. Creep. Pretty disc, we'll try it. This one I thought was kind of interesting, and then you guys may know the answer to this. The label says designed on Gary Kitchen's Game Maker, the computer game design kit. And it's Activision game home computer software, and it's got Wolfenstein on it. Now, I spent a lot of time with the Commodore back in the day, and none of that sounds familiar. Surely this wasn't what the commercial release of the game looked like. If everybody knows, please leave that in the comments, but we're going to check it out. Nondescript Atari Soft, maybe. There might be some games on there. We'll check it out. 4x4 Off-Road, side 1 and 2. Okay, well, we got a few things to check out here. Let's get the Commodore 128 going in 64 mode and see what we got. All right, well, I want to leave enough room where you guys can see the screen and everything. If we run into something that's particularly interesting, I'll try to get an actual video capture of it, but for now, we'll just use the monitor here to see what we've got. Now, if anybody is familiar with the 128, you know, you can hit the Commodore key when you're turning on the computer, it'll boot into 64 mode. This is actually the 128 that my family bought brand new back in the mid 80s. This was the computer that I remember my dad thinking was going to be the one that took over, not those IBM things or the Mac stuff or Tandy or any of them. This was it. And you know what? It stood the test of time. I have actually thought about retrobrighting this thing because it's a little yellow. But you know what? After all these years, I'm a little bit worse for wear too. So I think I'm going to leave it like it is, at least for now. You know, kind of the charm of it. Anyway, let's get into this. So let's see if we can find, well, let's try this Wolfenstein disc first. I'm really hoping this one works, because I never played that when I was young. Actually, I've never played it anyway. I'm curious to see what a C64 version would look like. Let's see what's on the disc first. Wolfenstein, looks like it's on there. Demos. Wonder if this is the actual game or if it's a demo. Let's load up main file on the disk here. Well, it's doing something. Let's see what we got going on here. Achtung! You will now be taken beyond Castle Wolfenstein. I hope so. I hope this loads up properly. You know, these discs do not necessarily age well, I have found. You know, a lot of my original discs and a lot of the discs that I get my hands on to try out just flat don't work anymore. And I know a lot of that has to do with their age. Some of it has to do with how they were stored. You just never know how these things spent their lives. They could have been in a hot garage for, you know, the last 30 years or so. So you just never know. So it's always a gamble when you buy old discs whether anything's actually going to work or not. This one appears to be loading. Drive still spinning, lights still on, no flashing or disk errors or anything yet. So hopefully that's a good sign. Drive is still making some noise. Pretty bland loading screen, if you ask me. I always enjoyed some of the artwork that was done on some of these games while you were waiting for them to load, because with Commodore it did take forever for these games to load, and sometimes you'd have some nice artwork to kind of get you ready for the game. Yeah, this one appears to not have that, but it sounds like we're still loading. There we go. Beyond Castle Wolfenstein. All right, copyright 1984. Published by Muse Software. Press return to begin. Disk drive is trying to do something. It's not sounding particularly promising, though. Sounds like it's really searching. Are we going to work? Please work. I really want to see what this is. Now I'm curious whether it's just a demo of the game or if it's the actual game. There we go. Oh, it has speech synthesis too. So is this actually what the gameplay was like? Interesting. Interesting theme for the game. So I guess it just plays this demo over and over, maybe. Not particularly exciting. And yeah, it's a demo. Nothing seems to be working. Okay, well, that was a whole lot less exciting than I thought it'd be, but hey, I guess it's a demo for Beyond Castle Wolfenstein. Okay, well, good enough. All right, what else we got here? Atari Soft. I'm betting that this is some kind of compilation of Atari games. Let's see. Yeah, the Three Pirateers. Yeah, speaking of people pirating games. All right, what we got? Okay, yeah, a normal selection of different Atari games, which I'm guessing are probably ports from the Atari 2600 or something. Let's pick one randomly and see if it works. Pole Position. I remember that one as a kid. We used to play that all the time on our Atari 2600. It's probably one of the most played games next to River Raid. That was number one. And I didn't see that in here, so let me grab that disc next. We'll stick with the Atari theme. Hopefully that one will work for us. This one appears to be loading. We got a little bit of kind of a loading screen animation on here. Drive's still going, so it seems to be working. Maybe. Yeah, the drive's still going. I think we'll be okay. Pole Position, F1 to start. That looks just like the Atari 2600 version, if I remember correctly. See if it works. Oh, it's a port 1. I used to hate that. They never really standardized the ports for the joystick. Some player 1 was on number 2, some was on number 1. Yep, that's just as lackluster as I remember. Real simple sound, very simple, chunky graphics. I mean, nothing really to write home about. But back in the day, I would spend hours playing it. You know, we didn't have anything better. Okay, that's about as much as I could handle there. All right, so that one worked. I'll put that in my pile of working discs. River Raid. Gosh, I hope this one's working. That was my dad's favorite game on the Atari 2600. And we used to sit and play that for hours. I remember getting kicked off of the Atari so he could play that. Looks like there's a couple other ones on there too. Boulder Dash, Fort Apocalypse, Toy Bazaar, whatever that is. I think the Activision, I think that is the River Raid, but we'll see. So far, so good. I'd be really surprised if all of these discs worked, because it's just, that never happens. And I'm not sure where these were stored. I came across a Tandy 1000 EX system with the monitor and a bunch of discs and stuff. It was this year still, and it had been stored under a lean-to. It's in terrible shape, and I've been working on that for literally for months, trying to get it going as a project for the channel. So hopefully in the next few months we'll have a video about that. But you know, the same thing happens with these discs. People, you know, these computers get outdated. They throw the stuff in a closet or out in the garage or up in the attic or in the loft somewhere, and then you just never you forget about them, and then the discs are molded or they've gotten damaged. I think this River Raid, I think, is in that category. Getting a bit of a loading error. I don't know if you can hear that. So I'm going to say, unfortunately, River Raid's no good. I'll have to play that on the Atari with my dad. Just like old days. Sky Fox, that sounds interesting. Let's see what Sky Fox is. So any of you die-hard Commodore people noticing the shortcuts that I'm using? L-Shift-O for load and R-Shift-U for run, L-Shift-I for list. I think that was just something that was added on the 128 in 64 mode. I don't think the bread boxes did that, but I could be wrong. Leave me a comment and let me know that I'm wrong below. So that looks like maybe an old Electronic Arts logo. I think it's that same company as EA Sports now. They've been around literally forever, and I believe that's their old logo. So I think this is an EA game. We'll see. If I remember right on these, on their loading screen, it goes through the colors at this speed, and then as it gets closer to being done, it starts going really, really fast. Still seems like it's loading okay. You know, speaking of that, that's you know, kind of a point with the 128. I think Commodore actually ended up crippling their own system by making the 128 C64 compatible. You know, they ended up putting, you know, you've got the Z80 processor for the 128 with 128K of RAM, but then you also have a 6502 compatible processor in here that makes it backwards compatible, but that means that all of the software developers just wrote games for the 64 and never used the Commodore 128, you know, capability. So that's something I wish that I would have seen more of, was 128 software. And really, if I think back in the day, I think the only software that I ever used in 128 mode was, I think there was a word processor called WordWriter 128, if that sounds familiar. I think that's right. That I would use to type up papers for school and stuff, and then Geos, but we never, I mean, at that point, Geos really wasn't anything that I used because I didn't really have a use for it. So here is Sky Fox. Yep, Electronic Arts, 1984 and 85. Tank training, yeah, why not? Button starts mission. Let's try it. Never played this one before, never heard of it. See if it's any good. I hope so. I need some fun games to play. Sounds like it's loading okay. Yep. Really have no idea what we're doing here. I know I'm getting shot at. Oh, there they are. Okay, so it's kind of a shooter. I mean, it's not terrible. I guess we've got our little radar here that'll show if there's anybody around. It's got the little EA logo up there. Okay, so it looks like maybe that's our altimeter. So I was shooting those guys while I was on the ground. Yeah, this isn't particularly exciting. I mean, I guess for a Commodore 64 game it is, but yeah, the graphics just don't really do anything for me. Yeah, I could get bored of that quick. All right, let's try something else. So that was Sky Fox, I guess. Okay. Put that in the maybe list. Go 64, yes. All right. That's odd. Did it freeze up a little bit there? There we go. All right. Well, I'm kind of curious about this one. I love the Indiana Jones movies. I was going to say when I was a kid, but I still love the Indiana Jones movies. So maybe this game will be equally as amazing. Let's see if it'll load up here. Just a blue screen. I hear the drive trying to do something. It's kind of sounding like maybe it can't read that disk. Yeah, I think it has stopped. Maybe not. Yeah, we're getting a disk error on that one, which is a shame because I really wanted that to work. Let's see what else we've got here. Impossible Mission. I'm pretty sure that's the one that's got the speech synthesis too. If so, I guess that'll be two games we've looked at today that have that back in mid-80s. Oh, come on. There we go. Oof. Trouble getting that one to load at all. That may end up being a problem. This one may not load up for us. Well, yeah, there we go. Speech synthesis by Electronic Speech Systems. Ooh. I do kind of remember this being one that took a while to load back in the day off a disc. If I remember right, this game just goes right into it. There's no menu or anything. So when it's done loading, it just pops up. Still sounds like we're loading. Now we're starting to do something here.
Stay a while. Stay forever.
Well, this is another one. It's a different joystick port. I remember thinking how detailed that sprite was, the little guy running. I remember thinking that it was just amazingly... Oh. Yeah, I just got vaporized. That it was amazingly detailed. But, oh well. Yeah, Impossible Mission. Really all I care about on that one is the speech synthesis. I think that was kind of the best part of that. Oh. So how do you get down there? We gotta have to reset those. We gotta jump over this guy, but I can't. Okay. Enough fun with Impossible Mission. That's a card game. Kind of curious about this G.I. Joe game. I never got into G.I. Joe as a kid. He never was my thing. No offense, G.I. Joe. But I just was not a G.I. Joe kid. But let's see what the game is. It's on there. Well, that's a pretty impressive loading screen on that, isn't it? Okay. I guess you get to pick where you're going to be, maybe? Never played this before. Well, disk drive's running, so I guess that's what it is. It's going to load up our area. Yep. Destro, Baroness, Ace Stealer. I guess we get to pick what we want to be. Let's be Clutch. Made decent music too. Got that Sid chip sound to it. But there's a lot of kind of animation in here while it's loading. I do think that's pretty impressive. Disk drive's whirred away, but we get to at least watch the car slowly exit. Gives us something to do, build up the excitement. Okay. Okay, so we got like little rockets and stuff. And we get blown up. Don't really go very fast, do we? So I guess we have to find... kind of hard to control. It's not real intuitive. Yeah. I actually want to say I like the animations more than the game. So I know somebody's going to ask me about it because I do have an SD to IEC adapter that I got from the Future Was 8-Bit. Great company if you don't know about them. But it allows you to save Commodore files and games and stuff on an SD card. And this treats, it's treated just like a disk drive. But one of my favorite games of all time I do have on here, and I think it's an interesting one because it's a cracked game that also violates another company's intellectual property rights, which is, you know, kind of cool. Let's see here. And if I remember right, there is a file browser on here. Yep. So basically it allows you to, because I mean it's a huge amount of files you can put on an SD card obviously, but like on this one I've got CCGMS for the Wi-Fi modem I've got for it, Geos, got to have that. Those are the file browsers. But then I've got a games folder, and the game that was my favorite, I got to show you guys this one just because I got it on here, was Super Mario Brothers. Now, there wasn't an actual Super Mario Brothers that was made for the Commodore 64, at least that I'm aware of anyway. But these group of crackers decided they were going to crack the Gianna Sisters game, change the sprites to make it look like Super Mario Brothers. So not only did they violate the intellectual property of the Gianna Sisters, which was already violating the intellectual property rights of Nintendo, because I think they got sued. But these guys even changed it to make it look even more like the Nintendo property. So I just thought that was really cool. But it also has, I think, some of the best intro kind of demo type music and graphics on it before it actually even gets into the game. And the Sid chip music is awesome. And then just the game itself, I always kind of liked Gianna Sisters better than I did Super Mario Brothers. And maybe that's just because that's what I had to play. I never had a Nintendo or anything. But I used to play Mario Brothers on my friend's Nintendo system. But always preferred the Gianna Sisters crack of it. I thought it was way better. So let's let this load. This one does take forever to load, so we'll cut over to that. And one of the things that I really liked about this game was the fact that the guys were just bold enough to say, hey, you know what? We ripped off a ripoff and made it our own. Here we are. And it's almost like they did a demo ahead of the game, because this reminds me of the old Commodore 64 demo stuff, showing off what they can do with graphics and bitmap and text and motion and all that stuff. And it captivated me as a 8-year-old kid. But let's get into the game here. Just a game that I really loved. I really, really enjoyed playing this. And in some ways, I prefer it over the Nintendo version. I'd love to have an original Gianna Sisters disc, but I know that that's really, really rare. All right, let's play. But this is also what I would consider to be some of the best Sid chip music from a game. I think it's just great. I love the music. It's happy. They're using all the voices. Just always really liked it. There's just something about this game. And bear in mind, it's been probably 30 some years since I've played it, so bear with me if I'm not real good at it anymore. Oh, yeah, I got that hidden one there. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's Super Mario Brothers for the C64. Again, I know it's not a licensed thing. This was a ripoff of a ripoff, but I think that's part of the charm, at least to me. Part of the charm with this game is the fact that it was a ripoff of a ripoff that a bunch of guys thought, you know what, we can do this. And they did. I remember there being an angle you could hit this at where it'll go down there and get that guy. There we go. Okay, anyway, that's probably enough of that. But anyway, just wanted to say, hey, thanks for watching, guys. I know it was, we kind of did not do real well when it comes to finding anything interesting on all these discs. But you win some, you lose some, right? And I think we ended up losing on this one. At least I got to kind of show you my favorite game, talk about the system a little bit. But just kind of a simple video for kind of a simple week for me here at the studio. But I do appreciate you all watching. If you guys have questions or comments, please be sure to leave those down below. I know I'm not the only one with memories of these games and of this system, so please feel free to share that. I do notice that a lot of the people who watch the videos are not subscribed, but they come back and watch over and over again. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out. But until next time, appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you around. Happy playing.